So, Ralph, I wanted to ask you a question. You had told me this story about that had to deal with contamination, where there was a kind of a gross violation on it, and I'd love to hear you just fill us in on what you saw, because it's a good example of where things can really go wrong.
Yeah, they can go wrong really bad and really quick, and without any malice intended. In a previous life, at a previous place where I worked at, they would also deal with raw proteins. And I don't know how familiar you are, but raw proteins usually come in cryovacs and so on and so forth.
Sure.
And I go back to before the days of color-coded stuff, you know? And so, which was one of the reasons at Sizzler that we implemented all this color-coded stuff.
Sure.
So, you don't think anything of it, but you grab a knife to cut the cryovac bags, and I mean, the knife isn't even stained because you're just cutting the bags and you put the knife down, again, depending on the prep area. And so they went to the back to get ice or something for it, and salad bar lady came and cut something for the salad bar lettuce, or
with the same knife.
Yeah, I don't know what it might have been. And turns out to be that the meat was tainted. And so just that cutting of the plastic with the tip of the knife was enough to contaminate the knife, which in turn then contaminated whatever that prep lady was cutting. I think it was lettuce or something like that. So that's how quickly it can happen. And I don't think it was with any malice. I don't think the lady thought the knife was used, because
it was
didn't even look dirty. It looked clean. You know, when you're using the very tip to cut plastic, and it cuts really quick, you know, knives are usually pretty sharp.
So now all of a sudden the lettuce got contaminated.
And several people became ill, and the consequences could have been way worse. But
you could actually kill somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. That can kill somebody really quick. I mean, you can't pick up a newspaper, not that too many people pick up newspapers anymore, but go on the internet, and every single day something comes up having to do with an E. coli contaminant. Just this morning in the news, I was hearing about another E. coli contamination from a very popular restaurant in the area.
Sure.
And so it just happens, and again, it's running that stop sign. You look at all those possibilities, how many times we run the stop sign just between the cutting of the plastic and the cutting of whatever. And
so, as we're on contaminants, allergens has been and is it is in the forefront in terms of in the news of regulating it, making sure we're conscious of it. You were telling me a story about again about how you guys kind of identified a situation where there was an issue that you never really thought about it.
Never even thought about it. This was a few years back, and. You know, if you're familiar with Sizzler, you know one of our staples is our cheese toast. As a matter of fact, September the 15th is actually designated as Cheese Toast Day nationwide, and we make a big hoopla about it. So if we ever decide that there's three things that are restaurants that we can never get rid of, one is cheese toast, the other one is Malibu chicken, and the third one is clam chowder soup. If we ever get rid of any of those, the villagers will burn the restaurants down. But in any event, we have a flat top grill. We don't really cook anything on a flat top grill. Everything is on a char grill. So we have a flat top grill where we cook our cheese toast, you know, gets spread and it goes in there, and then it gets a nice little coaty thing, and then it gets served. Delicious. It's addicting. So back, I want to say 30 years, 25 years, we rolled out shrimp skewers. And it was, again, we are very big in combos, and as a matter of fact, we were the innovators, and it was steak and shrimp skewers. So since we had char grills, we really kind of hesitated to cook them in the char grills because the flames can burn the tails and so on and so forth. So we thought that we got really smart, and we had these little metal bars that we separated in the flat grill.
So you knew then that you wanted to separate the potential allergens.
But it probably wasn't. I mean, allergens wasn't even in the radar back then. I mean, and now it's like everything you talk about is allergens. But back then they existed. Obviously, you know, people had allergens for probably as long as there's been people on the planet. But there was not too much serious focus back then. Again, 20, 25 years. But really what we wanted to separate it mainly was because of flavor profiles. You know,
Yeah.
we didn't want
I gotcha.
oil going into so on and so forth. So this side was for shrimp and this side was for toast. We did that for years, until one day we had somebody that had a seafood allergy, and obviously they didn't order any seafood, and they had a reaction, and it was able to be traced down to the cheese toast. Well, again, going back to what we were talking earlier about allergens, heat does not kill the allergens. So just the fact that the oil, the butter, or whatever from the shrimp rolled over, you know, it didn't pay attention to that little metal bar, it found its way around and contacted the cheese toast, came across contact, and as a matter of fact, the cheese toast then was now with the juice of the shrimp, and that caused the reaction.
So I have one last question for you. Is food safety really important?
Let me tell you, and I try to teach this to people because somebody told me this one time. If you're in the food business and food safety is not your #1 priority, get out of the food business. It's that simple. I mean, so many things can go wrong so quickly.
Yeah.
If you make rolling stops on that stop sign, it has to be your #1 priority. It has to be. Yeah, everything is about the taste of the food and the quality of the food and the cleanliness of the restaurant and the welcoming environment of the restaurant. But all that means nothing if you get one person sick.
Good
It's
advice.
simple. It's that simple. It means nothing.
So we'll take it seriously. Anyway,
Absolutely, yes.
thanks, Ralph. Really appreciate your time.
No, my pleasure. Thank you. I enjoy speaking about food safety. It's a passion.
You do.
It's
You
a
do.
passion.